Hello, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Mike.
And we are AutoEclinic. Thank you for tuning in to AutoEclinic today. What we're going to do, we're going to show you how to replace the lower intake manifold gasket on a GM 3.8. We have a 2004 Chevrolet Impala in the shop here. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to remove both the upper and lower intake and replace those gaskets.
I think it's for you.
Hello? Yeah, they said let's get started.
This right here, it just pulls off. There's no clamp. I didn't say it was easy to pull off. I said I pull it off. Go ahead and unplug as much as you can. Try not to break any of the clips. Try not to break anything for that matter. Okay. Evaporative emissions connector, push on that, get it out of the way. Vacuum line here. Okay, these wires, we should have enough room to get them out of the way. If you're going to take them off, you really want to mark them. These wires have been replaced, so they're not marked. So they'll need to be marked on the coil packs before we take them off. Remove your fuel rail, so your injectors need to be unplugged. This is your main injector harness, I believe. Okay, like I said, we're just slowly getting stuff out of the way. Went along pretty well. We're going to squirt a little fuel here. We probably should have depressurized the fuel system. We did not. Well, here's another one. Let's try it. Yeah, we had a little bit of squirt there, but see, we didn't have much. We didn't have much come out of there, so that kind of bothers me. With that being said, when the fuel pumps go bad, the valve in there that holds pressure on it, they'll stop holding pressure. Yeah, looks like we can go and unbolt the fuel rail now. Looks like we have, I believe it's 4 10mm bolts, and that fuel rail comes out of the way. Now the problem is your injectors go down into the intake. Now they have an O-ring that seals them off. You want to go ahead and spray them now with some penetrating oil. In this case, we're using a Lucas Toolbox Buddy, but WD-40 would work, PB Blaster, any kind of good penetrating oil. And that's going to help free up those injectors, because you really don't want them to stick in, because when they stick in, they can come loose right here at this clip. Now you can always remove them here as well, but I like to pull them out as one whole unit. It's just easier that way when you're working on book time and you're trying to make a living. You want to do this as quick as possible, but still do it properly so the customer will have a properly fixed car. And that's what I found to be the case. Like I said, if you just lube them up real well, let them sit, let that penetrating oil get down in there. Now we're going to gently pry up on our fuel rail. And as you can see, looks like the penetrating oil worked pretty well, because they're popping right up. Wow, look at that. That worked great. You see our O-rings are still there. It's a good idea while you got it apart to go ahead and go back with new O-rings because they get very hard and dry over the years. But as you can see, it was a really good idea to go ahead and spray them down and let them sit because they came up real easy. Now, it's not much more work to go ahead and remove the intake, or at least the upper plenum anyway. You can see we got a bracket right here. You've got to get that bolt out of that bracket, and it is a pistol to get it off unless you remove the entire bracket. I'm going to show you a cheat secret real quick that I've learned. Now, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and unbolt the throttle body. It would make it a little easier. We're going to see how this works. You can take a pry bar and then bend that bracket back. It doesn't really bend it, it just kind of hinges because it bolts there to the intake. So we're going to see how this works. Oh yeah, see, it just comes back nicely. Now you've got room to pull the intake up. Let's go ahead and work on getting the rest of our intake bolts out. It looks like they're all 8 millimeters. We're replacing the intake, so we don't really need to go in any kind of sequence, and also it's plastic. So, and you know, you can argue it both ways. You can say you need to remove it in the same sequence that you tighten it down in. I don't see that big of a deal about it, but I'm sure somebody's going to email us and be mad about it. Now that should be all of them. We're going to go ahead and gently pull up on it. Yep. Brake booster vacuum hose. Now it's easier to go ahead and remove your throttle cables. Okay, now that we got the upper intake out of the way, we're going to go ahead and remove our lower plenum. Our gasket's leaking on the lower, which is pretty common on one of these 3.8 GMs. So we're going to go and show you how to remove the lower plenum. It's easier. You don't have to get this bracket out of the way, but it's much easier to go ahead and get this bracket out of the way. Go ahead and remove your EGR pipe. We're going to remove our gooseneck. Thermostat. Now it looks like we have everything out of the way. We can go ahead and remove our intake bolts. Now that's all the bolts we can see, right? You're thinking, okay, I can probably pop the intake off now. But there's two hidden bolts. There's one in here, and they're covered in oil. So they're very, very hard to see unless you know they're there. And you've got one here. Now you can't see it in there because it's, once again, it's covered in oil. There's your hidden bolt. And there's your hidden bolt. So, yep, there it is. Oh, kind of coolant temp sensor there on the bottom. Now you can see where these leak. See where the gasket is coming apart here? This is called the GM floating gasket design. From what I've been told, that's what everybody's always told me. That's what I learned from General Motors. You can see, that's where the gaskets fail. And when they get bad enough, they'll eventually start mixing the oil and water. So now we've got to get this all cleaned up real well. And then we'll go back together.